guys, you're most welcome back to this new video tutorial with the OSP Pro. In this video today, I'm going to be working with you guys, showing you on how to come up and start something called API development. Now, this might be something very new to you guys, and I really need to take you guys through first of all something called an API. What's an API? As which is called Application Programming Interface. You get it? So I'm just trying to work with these terms, few steps here. We're looking to something called an API, whereby in my case I said it's called application. This stands for programming. Programming, and then this stands for interface. Interface can be the user interface or something of that sort. So mainly an API is application programming interface. You get? How does it work? Its work is mainly used to work as a bridge. You get? API always work as a bridge between one known as the back end of the application and the front end. Now, as I may happen to say this, here to you guys, the back end, we don't care about how it's gonna be like. At the front end, we don't care the technology. So the technology you are to use doesn't matter. So technology doesn't, I will simply say, doesn't matter. You get? This doesn't matter. Whenever you're using an API, doesn't matter. You get? So your technology does not matter, because, for instance, if I'm to create an API, we shall use something called a JSON file or something called an XML file. You get? We shall be creating one of those two. Get? But on this video, on my tutorials, I'm going to major on something called JSON, because of its responsiveness and it being, the way it works. It's far more better than XML. So an XML is an old version, but though our guys or our friends are using an Android, those guys are using Android, Studio, those who are using not an Android Studio, but those who are using actually majorly Android, it comes the pre-compiled XML. So at the end of the day, forces most of those guys to use an XML application. All those guys also still want to use an XML. Still, guys, you can as well go on with it. It's not bad to proceed with an XML. But though in my case here around, I'm looking onto myself using something called I'm going to major and use also something called the JSON file. Now, if I go on the other way around, how do you create an XML? Okay, so how do you create JSON? So what is JSON mainly? JSON is just a JavaScript, JavaScript notation. So it works as in between intermediate that gives us a gap to to bridge our Python, to bridge our back end and and the front end. For instance, you can make a complete application that's going to be running using an HTML, with your JavaScript if possible, or you can even with your CSS. Yes, you get. So in that there, you need at least a scripting language, scripting language. And in this way around, we're needing a scripting language. A scripting language is one which is going to work for us on the back end. You get? Back end, or you can simply call it as a server languages. Server languages. Whereby there, for me, if I'm to create up a given kind of a JSON, or to create up a given kind of stuff. Remember, JSON will be a driven data, data which would have been going to the database. So you already have that data, and you're going to be storing it in a JSON format, ready for it to be fetched, to be used, to be used by another application. So you don't need to be worried about that. So that's the main important point with a JSON. It gives us a chance to bridge the gap in between that. So for instance, you build your JSON using maybe Go, or you build your JSON using maybe PHP. I'm also giving an example of server scripting languages. We have Ruby on Rails. We have also Perl. You can as well use Perl. We have Julia. We can still use Julia. We have Python, that we can as well use Python to come up with that given stuff. Most of you guys are using C#, or if you're using C++, if you guys are coming from C++ background, all this can give us a chance to deal and come up with a given application. Or maybe even you're coming from just a ground of JavaScript, still of Java. It still gives us a chance to work as intermediate language, to deal with that. Now remember, we also need the front languages, or what known as structured languages. Under structure, that's where we have something called HTML5. This gives us a chance to do that. I know some of you guys are going to confuse this, and you're about to ask me, how about MySQL being a structured language? Yes, good. MySQL is a structured query language, and we're going to be using it to, maybe if we are going to be looking onto the database storage and all those stuff. So MySQL mainly is for storage of given data in our MySQL databases. You can as well use SQL, or SQL, you guys don't know, understand that. You guys also look on the SQLite, even MongoDB on other databases. And if you're using MongoDB, this is a very, very good stack, because it's going to be giving you all the data you really want to do, or to use. It's really going to be stored in the JSON format. So MongoDB is equivalent to having something in format of a JSON. So you don't need even to waste time around, or maybe post not playing again with turning that given data into the format you would like to, to suggest to have. So all of these videos I'm going to be coming up down with you guys, and I'm going to break down all those things to you guys to understand how the logic behind is going to work, to come up with a simple stuff. Now for this video, I'm not going to confuse you guys with all of this tech, because it's going to be so much, and you guys will be confusing yourself for nothing. So my main point now, and at the moment, I'm going to be looking to our simple server language, and in this case around, I'm going to be looking to using PHP. Now, I would say using PHP straight out to PDO, but I have my friends, I have my students who are also going to be watching this video, and I need to move in the state whereby they all understand what is needed. So I'm going to start from procedure, actually PHP, where we, I know hope you guys understand with the procedure PHP, where we have something, if it is database connection, and if this is my connection, I tend to have something called MySQL I underscore query, understands MySQL I underscore connect to give us a connection to a given MySQL database. So this is what I'm going to say. This is a procedure MySQL. So I'm going to be using start from this state, up to the time we shall be going to a new. I'll also take you straight later on to a new version of MySQL, where we shall say new MySQL, and this is the MySQL I still at the same time. This is MySQL I, and then we use that technique. So this is going to be for the procedure. So this is going to be for procedure MySQL, and then this is going to be, I'll use this one for my OOP. You get? Then later on, I'll use the same technique if possible for our something called. I'll use the same technique on something called PDO. So you guys who are watching my videos, I'll make these tutorials available in all these languages, so that you guys can always get the same chance to understand how the things are done. So just like I've said to you guys, I'm going to be mentioning something called PHP. You guys, if you're using Python, if you want to use Go, if you want to use Java, you don't care. If you want to use, or should I say, C#, or you want to use C++, all those things will work for you. But if you have some knowledge and already have some clue on using what known as PHP as a scripting languages, then I would advise you, or if you also want to master it, it would be good, because I'm going to be starting it from scratch, and I'm going to be breaking down all these possible stuff for you guys to know, being familiar with, and getting to know how to get started with your API development using PHP procedure format. Then on the next video, I'll also be showing you guys, on the video after how using procedure, I'll be showing you guys how to use OOP, where you use object-oriented programming to come up with that given stuff. Then later on, still on the third video, which will be another version of, we creating up an API, we shall be using something called a PDO, mainly PDO, to create objects and classes to come with a complete kind of application. And you guys are watching this video for the first time and you have been not yet to subscribe to my YouTube channel, I will kindly request you guys to subscribe to my YouTube channel, so that each time I post a new video, you'll get notified, and also support me, okay? Then all you guys are from maybe those European countries, or if you are from a platform or from anywhere in the world and you need projects, I need me to work with you, you need me to do for you API development, I'll be doing for you guys the API development. Or even if you want a complete project designed by me, I can as well give you a hand, because after this video I'll also show you guys the mobile app development, whereby we shall be using the very APIs we have created to come up with the one. So another thing that, as I finalize this video, as I'm going to be taking guys to the next step of the video, is about coming up with the databases. So I expect you guys, by the time we are creating up this stuff, you should be at least familiar with one of the databases. And in my case, I'm going to be using MySQL, and make sure you have XAMPP installed on your PC, or at least have WAMP WAMP server. You know, you have WAMP server. You have WAMP server, or make sure you have WAMP server installed on your PC, so that each time so that we can be on the same base. But major on my side, I'm going to be using XAMPP server. So I'm using my server 64. The version is 64-bit. I don't know which one is you're using, but although having 32, it shouldn't. Don't worry. It will work out. It will work as long as it has been working, no problem. So I don't want to say you need to have the same thing I have in my PC. It just need you to have, make sure you just have XAMPP installed in your PC, so that we can be in position to log on to our application by going to our local host. So for this video now, shortly, just like I've said to you guys earlier, that I will make sure that we're going to be coming up with application program interface, which is an API. And this time around, we're looking to developing up something called a web API, because we're going to be hosted somewhere. Now, on this video, I'm not going to be, just hosting it somewhere. I'm going to be using something called Postman. So what's a Postman? Because I know you guys are about to ask me what's a Postman. I just have it somewhere down here, and I'm offline because I'm offline, but I already using something called Scrapper, kind of, Scrapper part to give me a chance to do my things offline. So this here helps us to test an API application. So for instance, if you have something called maybe like localhost // go to projects, and then maybe there, let me just pick an API, which if I have one in my application, I have CRUD API, I have APIs. Let me just try to look for the one for procedure, just the way we are going to be coming up with today. Now this is for the users. Let me just check one here. Just check one. That's the one. So if I just come in here and I try to copy this, I wanted to show something whereby even you can see. Let me just pick the one I've created yesterday, if it is okay with you, where I have something called maybe management, API, Alphabet Hub. So let me just try to pick one, like maybe users, and maybe I say create, where we're going to be creating at an API. I'm just trying to check the one for read to get for a sample data. So let me just copy the URL. So that is the endpoint that tomorrow you'll be giving to your end users. And I'll also show you something called an API authentication, so that your API is protected. Not everyone can just access your API, in your application. So this is fetching your record from the user. I get to use get, but as well you can also use post. Then you come in the body and then you say no. So none. So I just need to come back down here. And when I load my API, I think you can see it has really generated for me an API. So what I'm trying to talk about is just something like this. So this is an API application that we're going to say we're going to be having it in our PC. We're going to be learning how to create one and to have one, into our application. Okay, I've been just programming that shortly here, so I'm going to be looking into that. Now, just like I've said to you guys, this is what I've just been coming up with, and this is my simple procedure, kind of, PHP that I'm trying to use. Actually, this OP, kind of, to come up with that given, application. So I request you guys make sure we're on the same page, So in the simple term, this video, I just need to make sure, guys, you have this installed. So you make sure you have Postman installed and it's running in your PC. If you get any challenge on installing Postman, please update me, or you let me know, so that I can send you the link, download link for the different, or I can as well put it on my website ospPro.com, so that you guys, which time I happen to have any question, just go there. Just do go to search, because I'm going to put all what you need inside there, so that you guys can as well be with me on the same base. Then on the other way around, make sure you have your PC with you, so that we get ready. So make sure, like I've said, make sure you have XAMPP installed, because you have XAMPP, that means you can be in position to use PHP. And then on the other way around, make sure you have a database installed, and that is XAMPP. So guys, thanks for watching this video. Hope you guys will love it. If you find it interesting, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Each time I post a new video, you'll be notified.